It's time to get dark on free plugin February with the Dark VX Kick. I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5. This is a really cool kick, obviously that's the name, style plugin. And typically when it comes to a lot of percussion plugins, I've said this before in tons of other videos, they're just like a sample pack with a GUI. But I love percussion plugins that allow you to customize the elements in them a lot more than just, oh, do you want this one sample or this other sample? And in this case, as you can see, we have a bunch of different parameters to basically customize our own kick. So I'm just going to play it. I think this was muted before, but yeah, just playing it. I want to say basically the note itself is C1. So it's only one basically MIDI hit you're doing. Because it makes sense. You obviously wouldn't really adjust anything else, but... Right, and then we have a bunch of settings, so I'm going to unmute these and turn them all down, and then kind of just bounce around. So we have a dry. Then basically compressor. Then sub kick, if you want to add sub. So if you want to have that low oomph. And I feel like, even if you're listening to this with headphones, sometimes, especially for like a sub kick, having it on like a big monitor or like a really big sub is the way to truly hear it. But a cooler pro tip is basically using EQ. So if I mute this, watch here, you see it goes up to there maybe, right? But if I add the sub in, you notice now it's a lot higher, almost at the top of this, right? So showing you again, I guess for a big picture, right? You can see it gets that high with the sub, and then without the sub, not as high, right? So really cool if you want to add like just a little sub into the kick. And I like that too because it's not like a super synthy sub. It's not like, you know, something I might use in Serum or any kind of like sub I'd make in any kind of synthesizer. It is almost more of an organic style sub feel, which it could be very, very useful for your track, especially like, say if you're doing like a rock song in particular. You might not want some crazy 808 like in Serum, for example. If I have something here, might as well just pull this up to show you. If I have something here and I do this, right, now that is like a very synth style bass. However, in this one, I like the fact that is just more of like a sub kick itself, right? So I'll turn this off again, put this down here. So I do like that it has a kind of, again, organic sub style feel. And then we have the room here, right? Add some like stereo width to it. We can probably even see that via let's bring in another plugin. And this is something that I do a lot, especially like say if you don't have super expensive equipment. Sometimes, and I know it sounds weird, the visualness, if that's a word, of the sound can be very, very useful to determine, okay, you know, how useful is this plugin, or is it actually doing what it says it's doing? So with Ozone Imager, I'm not even going to affect anything, but if I have this in room and I have this, you notice, like that, and if I bring this up, you know, it's a little bit wider, right? Not completely wide, but a little bit wider as opposed to just more of a narrow signal as you're seeing as these kind of fade away on the sides. Even if I do like the Lisa Joust. Or Lisa Juice. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Joust. See, a little bit more wide, so it adds more stereo width to it. And then lastly, I can X this out, we then have Reverb. So, I'm going to put this down. And, right. So you can even add these two together. If you almost want that kind of like reverby, I know a lot of like disco songs sometimes have this as well. But being honest, when it comes to reverb, and I've said this before in other plugins, for a lot of other plugins, that when they have one reverb knob, as you can see, this basically just a dry wet, just go to any reverb plugin. I've reviewed a bunch of them already on this channel, or just use like the stock reverb. Actually, a lot of people ask me, what reverb do you use when you're producing music? I actually just use the Ableton stock reverb. I don't use any Valhalla special reverb plugins. Even all the free reverb plugins that I use, I've reviewed, excuse me, on this channel. I'm not gonna lie, I just delete them. And I'm like, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just so used to using the stock reverb, Ableton reverb. I just throw this on, and then that way I do this, and then already you can tell that it's a different sound. If I want to customize things very in depth, it's not just a dry wet, but I also have all these different parameters